Hello everyone, my name is McDonald Elisham Tuma and I'm here today to discuss the topic agriculture microbiology with you. So please don't forget to subscribe and also to turn on the notification bell to receive more and other videos, as I will be uploading other videos related to agriculture science and also a little of biology. But today I am concerned with the topic, with the subject agriculture microbiology. So before we go further, we will talk about the history of microbiology. We will also define the term microbiology. That's our starting point for today, and in the other videos we will study more and we will talk more about agriculture microbiology. So today, without wasting much of our time, we will talk about what is microbiology. What do you understand by the term microbiology? When someone comes to you and asks you what do you understand by the term microbiology, will you be able to answer that person? Will you be able to give the correct answer about the question, what is microbiology? Microbiology has been defined as the study of organisms and agents which are too small to be seen by our naked eyes. This is the study of organisms which are too small to be seen by our naked eyes. The study of organisms which our eyes cannot see, but we need something to see those organisms. This is microbiology. Those organisms which we cannot see by our eyes, but we need something to see those organisms. That the study of small organisms which cannot be seen by our naked eyes is called microbiology. Okay. Because objects that are about 1 millimeter in diameter cannot be seen clearly and must be examined with a microscope. Microbiology is concerned primarily with organisms and agents, these small and smaller. As we cannot be able to see these organisms with our naked eyes, we need something which can make us to see these organisms. And we want to talk about the microscope. The microscope is an object which magnifies these small objects to appear as larger objects. So thus we need microscopes in order for us to continue with the study of microbiology. Microbial world. Microorganisms are everywhere. Almost every natural surface is colonized by microbes, including our skin. Some microorganisms can live quite happily in boiling hot springs, whereas others from complex microbial communities in frozen sea ice. Most organisms are harmless to humans. You swallow millions of microbes every day with no ill effects. In fact, we are dependent on microbes to help us digest our food and to protect our bodies from pathogens. Microbes also keep the biosphere running by carrying out essential functions such as decomposition of dead animals and plants. Microbes are the dominant form of life on planet Earth. More than half the biomass on Earth consists of microorganisms, whereas animals constitute only 15% of the mass of living organisms on Earth. This microbiology course deals with the microbiology course, the one I'm going to talk about for a period of time. It deals with microorganisms. What about microorganisms? It deals about how and where they live, their structure, how they derive food and energy, how they survive, how they adapt to the environment, how they live, how they reproduce, how it also deals about the role in nutrient transformation, relation with plants, importance in industries, because these microorganisms, some of them they are used in industries. So not all of them they are bad, but some of them they are used in industries. Microorganisms, they can be divided into two parts. They can be divided into the prokaryotes. They can be divided into two, the eukaryotes. When we talk about the prokaryotes, we are simply talking of those organisms which lacks a true nucleus. Organisms which does not have a true nucleus. Those organisms, they are called prokaryotes. They don't have nucleus, they don't have the nucleolus, and and other organelles like mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. These all organisms, they are referred to as prokaryotes. And an example of these prokaryotes, we have got bacteria and archaea. We have got bacteria and archaea. They don't have a true nucleus. They lack a true nucleus in them. So we name them as prokaryotes in microbiology. Another group of microorganisms is eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are those organisms possessing membrane, enclosed nucleus, and other cell organelles are referred as eukaryotes. Eukaryotes, they contain a true nucleus in them. They have a true nucleus, which meaning if they have a nucleus, it is obvious that they also have the nucleolus, because the nucleolus is found in the nucleus. Is it clear? An example of these eukaryote organisms, we have protozoa, we have got fungi, we have got algae, etc., etc. Microorganisms, they've got different groups, and we will talk about the major groups of microorganisms. These are listed here. As you can see, bacteria is the group number 1. Bacteria are a phylogenetically related group of unicellular prokaryote organisms distinct from archaea. Archaea is phylogenetically related group of prokaryotes which are primitive and distinct from bacteria. Fungi are a group of eukaryotic organisms lacking chlorophyll, meaning the fungi, they lack chlorophyll, meaning they cannot reproduce by themselves. They range in size and shape from single-celled yeast to multicellular mushrooms. Algae refer the group of eukaryotic organisms with chlorophyll. They range in size and shape from single-celled algae to complex cellular structure plant-like algae. Protozoa are a group of eukaryotic organisms lack of cell wall. The morphology, nutrition, and physiology is different from other groups. Viruses are a group of non-cellular organisms, parasite or pathogen to plant, animals, and other microorganisms. They are too small and can be visualized under electron microscope. As I stated, the above and all these groups I was stating, they include: 1, we've got bacteria, we've got algae, we've got protozoa, we've got fungi, we've got archaea, we've got viruses. These are the 6 major groups of microorganisms, and all of these, they can only be examined, or they can only be seen under a microscope. We cannot see these organisms using our eyes, our naked eyes. We cannot see these microorganisms, but we need microscopes in order to see these 6 groups of microorganisms. Take note of these 6 groups, don't forget. And thereafter, we are going to talk about the history of microbiology in brief. I'm not going to talk much about the history of microbiology, as I have no time to talk about the history of microbiology, and I'm yet to upload other videos concerning this subject. It is obviously that humans have had to deal with microbes even before the recorded history. The first record of human using comes from ancient tablets from Mid-East. Babylonians were using yeast to make beer over 8,000 years ago and acetic acid bacteria to make vinegar over 6,000 years ago. Meaning yeast was used to make beer 8,000 years ago, and it was also used to make vinegar. About 5,000 years ago, Persia region recorded the winemaking. The Romans had god for that was specific for microorganisms. The Roman god of mold and mildew was Robigus and Ribigo, which means crop rust. Rust is one of the plant diseases caused by fungus. We will talk about rust later. It is a disease which is caused by fungus and it affects plants. God Robigus was very much feared because of crop loss. About 2,000 years ago, Romans proposed that diseases were caused by tiny animals. But fundamentalist regions had a strong hold over the progress. The real microbiology history starts from 1600s when people began to make crude lenses and microscopes. Still in the history of microbiology, these microorganisms, they caused some diseases which affected human health, and it also affected the health of crops. Here I will talk about some of the diseases which were caused by the microorganisms. In fact, I will talk about the effects of those diseases which were caused by microorganisms. Effects of diseases on civilization. Infectious diseases have played major roles in shaping human history. Smallpox and other infectious diseases introduced by European explorers to the Americans in 1500s were responsible for decimating Native American populations. An example, in the century after Herman Cortez's arrival in Mexico, the Aztec population declined from about 20 million to about 1.6 million, mainly because of disease. Infectious diseases have killed more soldiers than battles in all wars up to World War II. Until late 1800s, no one had proved that the infectious diseases were caused by specific microbes. So the possibility of prevention or treatment had no sound empirical base. How were microbes discovered? Discovery of microbes. To see microbes, you need a microscope. As I stated about it, I have talked about the microscope being used to see microorganisms. So, to see microbes, you need a microscope. The first microscope was invented by Antony van Leeuwenhoek in 1632 to 1723. Leeuwenhoek took up planes grinding to make magnifying glasses so he could examine fine weave of fabrics. In testing his lenses, he discovered many creatures he called animalcules in samples such as pond water. His best lenses could magnify 300 to 500 times. Leeuwenhoek microscopes were crude, relied on single lens held in metal plates. Leeuwenhoek described many previously unseen life forms, including different forms of bacteria and mold spores, etc., etc. Leeuwenhoek reported discoveries to Royal Society from 1670s on firmly established existence of microbes. Nevertheless, the significance of this discovery was not apparent for almost 200 years. this is the end of our topic for today. We were talking about what is microbiology. We were talking about the history of microbiology. So in summary, we can say microorganisms, they are small organisms which cannot be seen by a naked eye, but I said they can only be seen using a microscope, which was then invented by Leeuwenhoek. So in order for him to see these microorganisms, and I said these microorganisms, they can only be divided into two groups, which are one, prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, whereby the prokaryotes, they lack a true nucleus, and the eukaryotes, they contain a true nucleus. I also talked about the groups of microorganisms. I talked about bacteria, I talked about archaea, I talked about algae, I talked about fungi, I talked about protozoa, I talked about viruses. And thereafter, we talked about the history of microbiology. So I think I am done for the lecture, and thank you so much for staying here with me. Don't forget to subscribe and also to turn on the notification bell. As I told you before, that I will be making some videos related to this subject and many other subjects which are related to agriculture science and a bit of biology. Thank you so much.